We men, we have a problem apologizing. We have an issue. It's incongruent with the male ego. And so we have a problem apologizing if we're wrong. Now, we apologize, but not in the way that the women wanted to be apologized. We're not going to get on one knee and bring you a bouquet of flowers and stuff like that. We've been done messed up. We realize that we've hurt you and offended you in some way. And the best way that we can sometimes apologize, you know, is like, I'm going to get you to get a sandwich. You want anything? Now, you know this rascal don't ever ask you about anything. And you learn how to read his way. You know his little mannerism. You know he'll do something thoughtful that he doesn't normally do. And that's his way of really saying, baby, I'm really sorry. I was a real pain back there. I know what I did to you. I embarrassed you. I was really wrong. That's his whole apology in a whole outline. You got to be able to recognize that thing and say, you know what? That's my boo over there. My boo done apologize. My boo is sorry. My boo does love me. And you got to know how to be able to read his apology. Does that make sense to anybody? To be able to say, you know what, we're going to be able to walk in the unity of the Spirit, even though you treated me in a way that I wouldn't normally treat you, but you grew up with some different ideas, but we are still able to walk in the unity of the Spirit, even though we've got different ideas about how this ought to be expressed. We've got different love languages, and we're communicating on different planes sometimes, but we still are in the unity of the Spirit, where we are saying that we are together in this thing, our relationship, we're in the same boat, and we're going to row together, and when you're busy rowing together, you don't have time to rock the boat. And so you are taking your time, and you are rowing together in the unity, eager to maintain the unity of the Spirit in the bond of peace. You don't know how much peace is of value to you until you lose it. And if you ever lose peace, you can be in a fine house with fine cars, fine clothes, and they mean absolutely nothing to you. You would rather be in a one-bedroom shack with water that you have to draw out of a well and go to an outhouse to use the bathroom in peace. I would rather have a piece of molded bread to have to eat with some cocktail sauce somewhere out in the country and have peace than to have a filet mignon sitting in the presence of a contentious, cantankerous, contumacious individual that doesn't know how to treat me with love and respect. I'd rather have peace. Follow after peace in your heart so that you maintain. You have to walk in peace. And so notice that whatever disunites man from God also disunites man from man. Whatever disunites man from God also disunites man from man. And so if we become disunited from God because we carry unforgiveness, that will also disconnect us from our fellow brothers and sisters. If you walk in unforgiveness, you have to learn how to walk. But peace cannot be kept by force. You can't force and say, well, we will have peace in this house. Just because your partner is silent does not mean they agree with you. Maybe they are simply endeavoring to maintain the unity of the Spirit in the bond of peace. And oftentimes, the only way to keep your peace is to hold your peace. To hold your peace, to hold your peace. Peace can only be achieved by understanding. Can only be achieved by understanding. When two people understand each other, whether you agree is one thing. The thing that frustrates us in relationship is because we don't understand why they keep doing this, and they know that this frustrates the life out of me. Why did they keep doing it? And because we don't have understanding. Lacking understanding is the basis of the frustration. Is because we don't understand. If we begin to understand, the reason that he expects me to pick up everything is because his mama picked up everything. Now I understand what's wrong with him. No, so I see now why he think I'm his mama. And the reason that she won't do anything is because she was her daddy's little princess. And her daddy did everything for her. And now she thinks that I'm her daddy. If you have an understanding of that and then you see the behavior, it's like, oh, I know why she's doing so and so. But what drives us insane is to see a behavior that we lack understanding in. When you understand it, understanding strips the frustration. Because if I say this to him in front of his friends, that embarrasses him, and now he's going to be angry with me for 3 days. I understand. You understand what I mean? So when you understand that, it is understanding that actually brings you into peace, and it strips frustration out of your life because we lack understanding. And you have to be able to share with them and have the discipline to bridle your tongue so that you can hear what they are saying to you, because that's the basis of your being able to come into peace. It cannot be kept by force. It can only be achieved by understanding. And one of the great keys in life is learning to pace yourself for the journey. Pace yourself. Pace yourself. You can't do everything in a rush. You have to pace yourself. There is a pace of life that you have to learn. There's a pace of life. Take your time. Take your time. Pace yourself for the journey. You run the race with patience. That sounds like an oxymoron. It sounds like the great paradox of life, to run the race with patience. When you run with patience, it's called walking. We're talking about the walk principle. You will get guidance for your journey when you learn to walk with God. And when you really understand this walk journey, life is not a sprint. Life is a marathon with hurdles. It's a marathon with hurdles. Don't get bent out of shape because you're going to have some hurdles, something that you're going to have to take a lot of extra energy to be able to get over in your life. Life is a marathon with hurdles. You have to pace yourself for the journey. If you really want to go fast, you go alone. But if you want to go far, you have to go with somebody that you love. Pace yourself. Pace yourself. Pace yourself. If I want to do something really rapidly, I have to go by myself and do it myself, because I can do it rapidly. I don't have to wait for anybody else to get anything together, to find their keys, to find their shoes, to get in the car, to do. If you really want to go fast, you go alone. But if you want to go far, you have to go with somebody that you love. Because there's no rush to get back home when you take home with you. And I'm on a journey. When you learn to walk with God, you'll learn God in a walk. You learn him in a walk, and you have to learn that you pace yourself on this journey. We are pacing ourselves on the journey. There's no rush to get to the destination when you're walking with the one that you love. And so we are so grateful that God will put his wisdom in it. Raymond Inman suggests that if you're seeking creative ideas, go out walking, he says, because angels whisper to a man when he goes for a walk. If you ever get stressed about some things in life that you can't figure out and that you can't solve, go for a walk. Get out of the house, out of the reminder of man-made stuff, and go for a walk. You will be surprised. You will absolutely be surprised what going on a walk. There's something on the walk principle that you will learn, that God can speak to you. He can calm you down. Success is always connected to motion. So you have to get moving. You have to get moving. You have to get moving. You never allow what you cannot do to interfere with what you can do. You can walk. 2 Corinthians 5:7 says, for we walk by faith and not by sight. In him do we live and we move and we have our being. You have to learn how to walk with God. And don't wait until you get everything perfectly figured out in your own mind before you do something. General George Patton said, a good plan today is better than a perfect plan tomorrow. And so to be discouraged about what you don't have, that is a waste of what you do have. Jesus never just calls us to just stay where we are. You know what it's called when you stay where you are? It's called a curse. The way that you curse a person is that you keep them in the place where they are, so that there is no progress, no development, no maturation. They just stay where they are. If you're the same person at 50 as you were at 20, it is the greatest waste of 30 years. So you have to walk with God. There is so much that happens that when you get frustrated and you don't know what to do, get out of man-made surroundings. Step out into nature and go for a walk. Fill your lungs with oxygen made from God. Let him breathe in you. Let him calm you down. Sometimes you'll discover that the best way to deal with a short temper is to take a long walk. And whenever your fuse is real short, sometimes you might need to suggest to your mates, you might need to go for a walk. You might need to go for a walk. It's your way of saying, really, I don't want to hear your mouth. And you need to go and cool down, because the walk will give you perspective. There are things that you will learn when you walk with God that you will never learn if you sit. And I'm just here to tell you, to remind you that when God is trying to really do something in your life, you'll learn so much on the journey. He said, I will teach you and I'm going to instruct you in the way. It should perhaps read, I will teach you and instruct you on the way. Jesus, as he took his disciples, he would be walking through the field and maybe stopped and pulled up some grass and said, what is man's life but as the grass which grows up in the morning and it withers and fades in the afternoon? And he began to teach you as you walk along the way. There's some things that you learn on this walk principle that you can gain by no other way of just simply walking with God. The songwriter, when they wrote the song years ago about I've come to the garden alone, where the dew is still on the roses. And he went on to talk about, in the voice that I hear falling on my ear, Son of God is calling, and he walks with me, and he talks with me, and he tells me that I am his own. You know that God wants to just walk with you and you come into a revelation of really who God is as you walk with him? There's a blessing that comes when you can find a grandmother, a grandfather who may not have had very high levels of education in school, but they have walked with God. And out of their walk with God comes a maturity, and where they are not shaken by the little stuff that happens in your marriage today, where you think you're going to lose your mind, and because this happened to your children, and because you got this report from a doctor, they are not moved because they have been able to walk with God. They understand what it is to be in danger when you have walked with God, when you realize that yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil. Why? Because thou art with me. That when God walks with you on this journey, he would never dare leave you alone. So when a mother is sitting up with a sick child at night, guess who is walking with you? And there are times when a baby is upset and they are not contented for you to sit there and rock with them, and you have to get up and walk with the baby. I've seen folks on the plane where the baby has become irritable, and the only way they could calm that baby down was to get up and to walk with the baby. And there are times that God will just walk with you. The old folks used to sing the song, walk with me, Lord, walk with me while I'm on this tedious journey. Lord, walk with me. I need you. I need you to walk with me, because when you let God walk with you, he's going to teach you some stuff that you will never know if you just sit there. Abraham didn't know God when he was at his place in Canaan where he was. God had to say, get up and walk with me somewhere, Abraham. I know you've taken on a responsibility and you don't even know how to handle this thing, but walk with me. Walk with me and I'll help you and I'll show you. I know you're frustrated out of your wits with what has been dumped in your lap, but God says, if you will walk with me, I will show you. Get up, Abraham, and go into a place where I will show you. Abraham learned God by walking with him. Enoch walked with God and he was not. David walked with God. Moses walked with God. Will you walk with him? He will take your hand, and when you walk with God, you will come to know him in a way beyond your wildest imagination. God will teach you on the journey. But never forget that whatever you allow to just sit goes bad. If you sit down too long, your leg will go bad. If you let a car sit too long, it'll go bad. If you let meat sit too long, it'll go bad. Milk sit too long, it'll go bad. Fruit sit too long, it'll go bad. Whatever you let sit, it'll go bad. If you let your mind sit, it'll go bad. There are times when you're frustrated and you don't know what to do and which way to turn. I want to encourage you to just get out of your house and walk out in nature. You may not even know where you're going. It's not a matter of where you're going. It's a matter of the fact that you are moving. And God will get with folks who are moving. He said, I will lead you. I will lead you. As many as are led by the Spirit of God, they're the sons of God. You got to be moving in order to be led. God can't lead anybody who refuses to move. And so when he's saying, walk with me, my God, you will come to know God in a brand new way, in a strange way, when you just walk with him and allow God to begin to teach you on this journey, this tedious journey, the things that you so desperately need to know. There are things that you will learn through your walk with God that you can learn no other way. But I've been at pivotal points in my ministry, and I needed direction from God. I walked through the neighborhood at nighttime, and I'm so grateful that in that walk, I got more than exercise. I got perspective and direction. And sometimes when you desperately need direction in your life, it's because you endeavored to make the journey, to get out on a journey and go where God is leading you. Why do I need to know where we're going when I'm walking with one who is the way? The steps of a good man are ordered of the Lord. And when God is guiding your footsteps, he doesn't have to tell you in advance which way to go. When you get there, God will just say, hang a left here. Turn right at the corner. May I just remind you that there are certain things that are on your journey that you will never get to if you stay where you are. There are people that God has planted on your journey to help you. But if you don't keep going, you'll never meet them. They are strategically placed at junctures in your life. And I'm just here to tell you that when you come to a fork in the road and you don't know whether to go to the left or to the right, or whether you ought to stay put, God has somebody planted on the journey. You can never talk to them unless you keep moving, walking on that journey, walking with God. That's why there's something in the walk principle. I'm not telling you what I read out of a book. I'm just telling you what I have lived out in my own life, that you will get perspective when you walk with God. And when you don't understand it, my God, he puts the perspective in people that have known him. I've always found great confidence and consolation in people that have walked with God for a long time. And they've seen God deliver them through sickness and financial difficulty. They have seen God walk them with the things that were emotionally challenging to them, where they thought they were going to lose their minds, and they learned God in a brand new dimension through walking with him. You will come to know God in the walk, in just being bold enough to put one foot in front of another and to walk into this life and allow him to help you. Yes, you will go through some dangerous things that are frightening, that you think that this thing is scaring me to death. But yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. When you go, God will go with you. He will never send you to a place where his Spirit is not already present. You cannot escape him any place that you go. God is looking for somebody who will trust him to say, God, I'll walk with you even when I cannot see my next step. But God says, I'll give you a word, and it'll become a lamp unto your feet and a light unto your pathway. And you're frustrated, and sometimes you just need to walk with God. You need to get out of the conversations of other people that are in your ear, because you don't even know what you believe and what you ought to do, because everybody's telling you what you need to do and what you can do and what you ought to do. But you need to talk to the manufacturer that built you to say, God, you know how I am made. You know whether I ought to stay or leave. Jesus, you know. And when you walk with God, when you get out of your house, and you walk out of yourself and walk out of your own will, and you walk out of man-made stuff, and you walk out of comfort, and you say, God, I so desperately need you. And that in my walking with you, God, right now, in my walking with you, God, that I find your voice. I find your comfort. I find your presence. I realize that everything is going to be all right because I'm walking with God. And more importantly, God is walking with me. He will not move with you until you move. And there are things that he's got waiting just for you on the journey. There's somebody who's waiting. There's a word that God put in this house that was waiting for you to walk through the doors. And because you walked, God says, I planted him on your journey to speak this into your hearing so that you will know to walk with me. I'll bring people that have my perspective and let them speak into your ears, saying, this is the way, walk ye in it. And you won't even know it. Why would he have to tell you, hang a left, if you're not even at the place to hang the left? But when you get there, if you really trust him, you'll follow him. Even when you don't have the full guidance of the journey, but you carry the one who is the way. When you understand the walk principle, there are things that go over in your mind, over and over and over, and your mind is so engaged, and the only way to cleanse your mind is to get out on a walk. Some of you need to take a walk because you got to clear your head. Take a walk so you can hear the voice of God talking into you in the cool of the morning. God walked in the garden. And if you'll ever go into a place where God's nature declares the glory of God, you will hear the voice of God crying through the vista of time, speaking a penetrating word that brings precision into your direction. There's a certain amount of guidance for your journey that you cannot get until you go through the walk principle. The will principle is one thing, to lay down your will. The word principle is another thing, to read his word and to have it saturated in your life. The wisdom principle is another, where God guides you with the wisdom of others that have spoken into your life. But your mama can't walk for you. Your daddy cannot walk for you. There's a walk. When you reach a stage and a point where the folks that used to hold your hand cannot hold your hand now. And God will come bring you into this place where you know him inexplicably and undeniably, because you step into the walk principle. That after I now have the wisdom of God, now I've got to walk this thing out. I've got to walk this thing out in my daily life, and how I relate to my husband, how I relate to my wife, how I respond to my children, how I interact on my job, how I represent the causes of the kingdom of God every place that I go. I've got to walk this thing out. And as you walk it out, my God, you come to know him in an incredible way. God's glory falls upon you as you walk. Your strength is built as you walk. Your muscles are repaired as you walk. Yeah, there's a grace that comes. Stress will leave you as you walk. Your heart is strengthened as you walk. When you walk with God, you're walking by faith and not by sight, knowing and trusting that this same God who called you also qualifies you, and he will never leave you nor forsake you. This same God who's promised to be there with you. Every head bowed, every eye closed. If you're in this place today, if you don't know Jesus Christ and the pardon of your sin, there's a walk that you need to take today. It's a walk of faith. He doesn't want to hurt you. He wants to help you. He doesn't want to leave you alone. And some of you might feel right now that you're in the valley of the shadow of death. You need God to walk with you. You feel like you're all alone, that people have withdrawn from you, that they have abandoned you, that they have hurt you. Your daddy walked out of your life. You've been hurt all of your life, looking for love and affirmation. But the Heavenly Father, he's got some folks planted on the journey. When you accept him into your life, he'll start showing you other things that he's got planned for you, and he'll show you some stuff that's been in you and give you an understanding as to why you even have the gift sets that you have. You'll even understand why you've been through what you've been through, because everything that you have gone through in your life has prepared you for who and what God has called you to be. Not everything that prepares you is comfortable, but it is through your adversity that you gain strength. And all greatness comes out of adversity. If there is no adversity of something that you have to overcome, you can never be great. All greatness without exception comes out of adversity. People that are born with silver spoons in their mouth rarely reach greatness. But the ones who develop to the level where they had the silver spoons is the one that came out of poverty and adversity. And they became great by what they had to overcome, succeeding against the odds. And today there are some individuals who are here that need to walk with God in your own personal life when it seems like nobody else is walking with you. And you need to ask God, Lord, walk with me while I'm on this tedious journey.
Thank you for watching Power for Living with Bishop Dale C. Bronner. Until next time, God bless you.